Oop.
Alright, I didn't get all of them together. Come on, guys. It is Sunday, May 6th, I believe, and I have just come into town, into Sturgis, to capture a swarm of bees that was in a lady's lilac bushes. Here's the lilac bushes, and you'll notice there's a bit of a thin spot right there in the middle where I needed to cut some branches out to get the swarm, because they were covering a couple of the branches kind of right in the middle there. And so I believe I have the majority of the swarm in the potato box now, and it took a few cuts because they were spread over a few branches. So when I would pull one branch off, then I would get part of the swarm, but I knew I didn't have the queen yet because a bunch of the bees would swarm right back up to the lilacs again. And so it took a few cuts, probably, I don't know, 3 or so, and then there's the pile of branches that I cut, and then I would just kind of put the piece of branch over the top of the box, kind of put the lid on there to keep as many bees there as I possibly could. And you can still see the bees are flying all over right now. They're still a little bit fired up about being taken out of the lilac bushes, and so there's, I don't know, I suppose 1,000 of them or so just kind of flying around here, but they're not being aggressive. They're, I think, just trying to zoom in on where their queen is at, because I am sure I have her in the box now, because I have a couple holes on the end of the box that are left open, and when they do go land, they're landing on the box and going in the hole. So I don't know, there's probably several thousand bees in there. I don't know, somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000, I'd say, easily. So what the plan is now is I'm just kind of watching to make sure that they're not congregating anywhere back up here in the lilacs. And I'll watch for a little while here, and I guess if I see a congregating spot, I'll probably try to cut that branch and put it in the box also. But I think right now they're just kind of trying to regroup, and I'll get back together. So I'm going to leave the box here for a couple hours and let them all get back in with their queen, so I get the majority of the colony, because I'm assuming the people here in this neighborhood don't want these random bees, kind of lost bees, just wandering around here for several days until they die. And so we'll leave them and let them get back in with their queen, and they're doing a fine job of congregating in there. And then we'll take them home and put them in a brood box that I have at home, and hopefully they'll be happy there, and we'll have one more colony of bees at home. So this is the swarm of bees that I captured today. It was just a loose swarm that was on a lilac bush in town in a lady's yard, and she didn't really appreciate having it there. So she made a call to Jerry Owens, the beekeeper down in Rapid, and he called me since the swarm was in Sturgis and asked if I could go and get it, and so I did. So I used just a potato box with a lid on it to put the swarm in. We had to cut several lilac branches down to get it because I kind of just kept getting pieces of the swarm, but I could tell that I didn't really have the queen, because when I would put a little clump of the swarm in the box, several of the bees would go back up to the lilac bushes. So they were going back to where the queen was. So finally we got the majority of them in the box and put the lid on so that just the handle hole was open. And then we left it there for a couple hours, came back, and they were all settled into the box, and there was just a handful of bees just kind of out foraging out around in the bushes. And so we brought the box home, and then I set up the brood box and the bottom board and put the lid on and went ahead and got that ready. And then Jerry suggested that I lay this white sheet down and then pour the bees onto the sheet, and that they would just work their way up into the box, and that's what they're doing. So there's quite the bunch of them here, and they are just gradually milling their way up to the inside of the hive. And it's pretty amazing because you can just get down in here so close and watch them, and all they're worried about right now is getting their queen into the hive and setting up their new hive here. So I am hoping that this is an acceptable home for them and that they decide to stay. And all I had to purchase was just the new hive box setup, because the bees came free this time, which is very cool. And somewhere in this whole pile is a queen. She could very well already be inside though, because they all seem to be really kind of hovering right around that spot right there. So I'm guessing she's either right underneath them or she's inside. And I'm not going to mess with them any more than I already have, because they need to just be able to get in there and settle down and start their new colony and their new hive. So that's the follow-up to capturing the swarm, and so far it's been a pretty happy story, and I hope that they just thrive here and do really well.